robust retro computing community around the TI. A lot of the information is really distributed on like computer message boards and old FTP servers, and I'm just trying to get as much as I can into one area. So, you know, on a site that's likely to be around for a long time, the Internet Archive, and hopefully that will do the future a service when it comes to the history of the TI, especially the sort of cultural history of it, newsletters and things like that. Okay, 14, 25, and 113. $92. Oh, wait a minute. Oops. At some point we switched to HCHAR. Where did we do that? My eyes glossed right over it. Okay, at line 84 we switch. All right, so we gotta do some repair work here. Let's just get rid of this. 92 is gone, 90 is gone, 88 is gone, 86 is gone, and 84 is gone. And just so I make sure I know where we're at, I'm going to list out the program before I continue. I didn't catch that we switched to HCHAR. I was so busy getting the numbers. I didn't notice that part. It's amazing how your eyes gloss over things, you know. But let's just see where we're at and make sure we're transitioning in the right spot here. Slow and steady wins the race. Okay, so at 84 we switch, call HCHAR. Yep, right there. 84, call HCHAR. 12, 11, 99, and 10. Can't do much on the TI. I love to play with graphics. Yeah, you know, you certainly run into graphics limitations for sure. Give up on making stuff. Hoping to make a group that has different tasks. One that is good with code, one with graphics, sound. Yeah. You know, I'm finding that I don't know if you were using the extended basic cartridge back in the day, but now that I'm working on some of my own TI projects, it's amazing what the leap from regular TI basic to extended basic can do, although I keep running into some limitations with extended basic too, because it's not spectacular on detecting sprite collisions. But I'm finding that it's easier to do some of the things I was trying to do in TI basic. And of course, there's modern versions of BASIC on emulators and whatnot too. So there's, you know, if you want to go down the rabbit hole of finding cool things to do on the TI, there are people that have written even more robust versions of BASIC, and other languages altogether, things I don't even know anything about. So, and assembly even still feels like it's you know, too esoteric for for my taste. I like higher level programming languages. Yeah, sprites are great in extended basic, absolutely. Okay, so 14, 5, and 112. 112, there we go. 88. 14, 6, 114, and 9. 14, 6, 114, and 9. Just want to check line 86 real quick. 14, 5, and 112. Yeah, okay. Line 90. 14, 25, and 113. 15, 6, and 112. I've actually thought about starting my own kind of retro TI-99 4A newsletter / magazine. I've just started thinking about it. I know it seems a little anachronistic, but I've been told I'm a walking anachronism, so that kind of project is right up my alley probably. But I know it's not the most efficient thing. It would just be kind of nostalgic and cool to put out my own TI-99 newsletter in the 21st century here. So 94. Oh no, it's okay. Yeah, I'm happy to take my time to do this. I'm not in a rush at all. 15, 7, and 114 and 17. Not in a rush. 15, 24, and 113. That's part of the fun of doing this kind of thing on Twitch, right? It's just having the conversations while you're doing it. Anyone can type in a program. It's much more fun to have a little chit-chat while you're doing it. I don't mind at all. 16, 7, and 112. On my, if you haven't checked it out already, in the my Twitch profile description, there's a link to my YouTube channel. You can see lots of my other projects, TI projects, and other types of content as well. So feel free to check that out if you really want to go down a TI rabbit hole with me. Yeah, it's good. It is good to get a break, actually. Otherwise, it's like you just gloss over if you just keep typing and typing and typing. You're going to make mistakes that way, right? So it's good to take it slow and steady here. Okay, we are on line 1. See, we only have this much to go. We're in the home stretch here. 16, 8. Oops, 8. Keep it on the wrong number there. 140. I'm on an emulator. I'm not on a real TI right now, of course. 114 and 15. Yeah, I do lots of things. You know, right now I'm in TI mode, but you know, do some other retro programming. You know, I'm a teacher as well. I'm not teaching right now. I'm doing some Uber driving for money. I'm between full-time jobs, but I got some old educational content, some stuff on philosophy, some videos on logic, some family history on YouTube. I got lots of things on my YouTube channel. I dabble in all kinds of things. Maybe the end result is that my YouTube channel is not as focused as I would like it to be, but that's okay. 16, 23, and 113. Okay, 104, 17, 8, and 112. (106), 17, 9, 114, and 13. Make sure we're on HCHAR still. Yeah, all the way down. Okay, perfect. 108. I don't know why we're mixing up HCHAR and VCHAR statements. The ones that are obviously horizontal or vertical, obviously, but when the ones that just call a single character, I wonder why this author mixes it up a little bit. It's a little inconsistent, but that's okay. That's what I'm finding too. Is every programmer who's written one of these old TI type-in programs has their own style of doing things, and they're all quirky. It's interesting. 17, 22, and 113. 110. Do it first on LibreOffice program. I don't know what that is, and then export import it into the TI. You mean like when you're writing your own program, or when you're doing like a type-in program like this? Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, absolutely. But you know, those of us who are doing retro programming like this aren't too concerned with efficiency, right? Otherwise we'd be doing something else. 18, 9, and 112. Sometimes do this just for the sheer joy of it. Efficient or not. 18, 10. 114, 11. I've always had a taste for you know, retro things, though. I'm also a ham radio operator, and I love old ham radios. So I guess I've always had a fondness for old technology. The older I get, you know, the things that used to be new are now old. It has to be fast and easy. Now I'm a little more slow and steady that way. I think you can see. You know, I like to take my time and think it all through. If it takes me a little longer, it's fine. At least it's done. When it's done, it's done. And Yeah, no, I've never been too concerned with, but I don't program for a living, so I've never had to worry about programming efficiently. I did used to be a content developer, and we had a kind of technical authoring environment. The company I used to work at was an XML-based authoring system, so I used to hand code XML for a living. So then I cared a little more about efficiency, I think, but on these kinds of projects nowadays, nah, I don't really care. 18, 21, and 113. There's no way I'm going to get through my entire list of programs I want to make videos about anyway, so there's a little bit of arbitrariness involved. Means I don't have to stress about it too much. I'll never reach the goal. 13, 26, 103. 13, 27. I'll double check that. I don't trust my memory. 13, 26, 103. Yeah, when you use a TI, are you using an emulator, or are you working on an actual TI? I do have an actual TI. It's not in this room. It's in my living room out there, hooked up to an old CRT TV. But you know, for these kinds of videos, just easier to use an emulator. So 16, 9, and 120. But I do have a video capture device, and I could not get it to work correctly. I could get the video imported into Streamlabs, which I'm using to connect to Twitch, but I couldn't get the audio to work. And it wasn't just me; other people seem to have had similar problems with the capture device I've got. Oh, yeah, I'm just such a fan of Classic 99. In fact, I need to update mine. I've got a several-year-old version of Classic 99 I'm using right now, and I think he's added some features that I really would like to use, namely being able to, I think you can, with a newer version of it, you can export a program as a standalone executable, so you don't even need to load Classic 99 first. You can just, boom, hit the executable, and then up comes your program that you've written, which would be a great way of distributing old retro programs out into the world at large for people to enjoy. So I do want to mess around with it, but I've got it working the way I want, and once it's working, I don't want to mess with it too much. So, and I have some custom settings on here, the graphic settings and whatnot, and I just haven't wanted to mess with it. So I do need to update mine. Yeah, an old one. Yeah, I'm using an old one. I don't know what version it is here. Tell me here. There you go. Looks like maybe 2017, several years old. Okay, we're at what, 120 is where we're at. Yep. 16, 12, and 120. 122. 16, 15, and 120. That alert you just heard was actually my mouse cord. I've got a wired mouse of all things, and the cord is a little loose. I need to replace the cord on my mouse. That's why it's connecting and disconnecting and reconnecting real quick. 16, 18, and 120. Need to upgrade it? Yeah. No, I probably won't. Notice any real difference in the, not the way I use Classic 99 anyway, but being able to save a program as a standalone executable, that's a big, in fact, that's a feature I asked for some time ago, years ago, more than 7 or 8 years ago, when Classic 99 was pretty new. I remember writing to the creator of it saying, it'd be really cool if I could save a program as an executable, and some years later it showed up as a feature. So now I haven't used it, so I need to update it. Okay, 16, 21, and 120. (19, 1, 97, and 9). 19, 1, 97, and 9. (19, 10). 128 and 11. I suppose that people who are interested in the TI, probably more people use Classic 99 than use an actual TI these days, right? Just so much easier to do some of the things you want to do. 19, 21, 97, and 12. I'm also, like I said, I'm a ham radio operator, and I've been interested in trying to learn more about how the ways in which ham radio operators were using the TI-99 back in the day, long before I got my license. I got my ham radio license when I was 13 years old in 1991. The TI was already ancient history at that point. But in the early 80s, there were ham radio operators doing some cool things, doing packet radio with the TI-99 4A, and there's a packet interface, TNC terminal node controller interface for the TI by Cantronics with some software, and there are lots, not too many, but there are a few ham radio programs, type-in programs from magazines, and some commercial software being sold. I'm having a really hard time digging it up, though. A lot of it is either lost or buried in someone's desk drawer. But I did recently find a ham radio. I think this was a Morse code tutor program on eBay, and I got the discs for that, but I don't have a disk drive for my TI, so I can't use it yet. I need to find someone with a disk drive who can digitize it and get the program listing for it off the disk, so I can try to preserve it. A lot of these things just seem to be one-offs. There aren't too many of them around, and they don't come up very often. So, yeah, I'm just kind of going down the little rabbit holes I want to go down. I've got luxury to be able to do that right now, and between full-time jobs, so I got more time than I know what to do with, so I'm filling it up with this kind of stuff. Okay, we're done with call HCHAR. 134, sorry about that. For delay, time delay, equals 1, 2, what was it, 200, I think? 200, yep. 36, next delay. Some years ago, I was able to retrieve some programs off some old cassettes I had. I got the audio off the cassettes and I posted them on YouTube, and some nice volunteer, plugged the audio into Classic 99, I guess, in a way I didn't know how to do, and resurrected the programs. One was a cool recipe storage program, like a cookbook that program my dad wrote for my mom, and it's clear my dad wrote it. It's clear that it's for my mom. They're listed by name in the program. One was an electronics technician training program my dad wrote when he was an electrical technician at Ball Metal Corporation back in the early the beverage can manufacturer in the early 1980s. One was a joke program I apparently wrote, simple little jokes and one-liners, silly little program. And one was a music program, and I don't know the source of the music program. I haven't been able to figure that out, but I was able to retrieve 4 programs off these old cassettes. That was really cool, including 2 that my dad wrote. I was very pleased that I was able to retrieve those. Okay, 138. Back to call HCHAR. That's what undulates the waves, I believe. The waves actually have a little, very simple wave animation here in this program, I believe. 19.1. Oh yeah. I know you. Yeah, absolutely. I enjoy. Is it Pixel Pedant on YouTube? That person. She has great videos. I'm totally addicted to the TI videos. Yeah, love it. It's part of what inspired me to start making TI content on YouTube. I don't have as much of a knack for video editing, so mine are a little more bare bones and this kind of video. But I'm really enjoying everything I've learned, frankly, from watching her videos. Okay, so 138, 19.1, 101, and 9. Yeah, I hope so too. I mean, there's so much, there's so much to learn, right? So much to share, so many different ways of using even an old computer like this that I wasn't aware of when I was a kid using this computer. So people were doing things that I just had no idea, and that's clear from the users groups. The users group newsletters just show that there were 1,000 ways of using an old computer that I never would have thought of. 19 and 10, 129 and 11. 142. 1921. Oh, I got a typo in there, don't I? You know, I'm going to fix that right off the bat. Yep. I'm going to fix it right now. Let's just get rid of line 142, 140, 19. Let's check it. 19, 10, 129, and 11. Yeah, there we go. Perfect. $19.21. 101 and 12. Oops, actually I think we're done with the, yeah, we're back to the delay. For delay equals 1 to 200. I do appreciate that, actually. That's the nice thing about you know, what they call pair programming. The game that I was working on with my friend, the one I shared there, Freeze's Fury, we basically programmed the entire thing together. He's more of a designer. He wrote the music and did the artwork, the sprite artwork, and I did all the programming. But when I was doing the programming, we basically live streamed all the programming sessions we did for it. They're all on my YouTube channel. You can find them there. And it was great because I'd be typing and he'd go, oh, no, that's supposed to be, you know, 142 instead of 140 or whatever it is. And yeah, it was great, you know, or if I had trouble figuring out why something wasn't working, you know, an extra pair of eyes helped a lot. So I'm a big fan of working in pairs. It's actually way more efficient. Okay, 148 to go to 128. And last line, 150 and the end statement here is totally unnecessary, of course, because we never get there. We actually, 148 just always goes back to 128, and 148 goes back to 128. We don't actually need line 150, but it's there nonetheless, by convention, I guess. Okay, so let's clear the screen. Let's list out the program. We're going to look for any obvious syntax errors, typing errors, anything like that. And just because we don't see any errors, of course, doesn't mean there aren't any. But we're looking for the obvious stuff. Like I said, last program from this book I typed in, there was a typo in the hex code for one of the characters, and it was very easy to fix, but it took a few minutes to track it down. Probably because I just don't have my tools here. I don't have my book handy with the little hex codes and whatnot. Yeah, so far it looks good. You know, maybe it could still be typos in the hex codes, but let's run it and see what we get. Okay, here we go. For sale. For sale. S-A-I-L. Ha ha ha. Play on words. Let's run it. See if it looks good, or if we have to go hunting for errors. Okay, at a glance, it looks good. So far, so good. Oh yeah, there we go. The waves are undulating. Check it out. Let's get a couple screenshots here. Just to satisfy my curiosity here, I'm going to run it again, but what I want to do, there's this little bit sticking off the back of the boat. I just want to make sure that looks like the screenshot here. It does, yeah. Okay, so we got portals. I think it looks fine. Let's run it. Enjoy the fruits of our labor here. I'm also going to save these. Unfortunately, when I was doing the programs from 101 Programming Tips and Tricks for the TI-99 4A, you know, one thing, is there supposed to be a gap here? Let's check that screenshot one more time. Oh no, look. There might be a problem somewhere. Look. Huh. Let me think. So we've got a list of. You know what? I might have to bust out my. It might be a typo in one of the call VCHAR statements where this is supposed to go down an extra character there. But I need to remind myself which character number that is. So let's see, desktop, TI-99 4A, books. Let's just go to the beginner's. I have all these TI files on my computer. Let's just go to the beginner basic book. And we should have a list of characters in the back, right? Somewhere in the appendix. Okay, yeah, here we go. Let's see, in lowercase b, character number 98. Okay, so let's look at the program and see where we're drawing character number 98 onto the screen. Oh, I was like, that doesn't look like the right program. There we go. 98. Where are we drawing 98? Right here, maybe. Let's check line 44 first. (221), 98, and 12. Okay, that looks okay. Any others? That's weird. Is that the only place? To me, it looks like it just needs... Well, let's see here, actually. Let's run it. I can fix it by hand if it's an obvious error. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, I think that needs to be 13. This is probably a typo from the screenshot that was in the book. If you look, the mask goes all the way down. And when we run the program, it doesn't. And I'll bet you if we just change that to a 13, we can fix the program. I think this is another typo in this book. That's what it looks like to me. Right there, that's supposed to be a little square. I think we should be so bold as merely to fix it. Let's do it right now. So list, it was line 44, right? So if we just change this to 13, I believe we will fix the problem. Let's see how we do. I'm trying to, insofar as I'm taking the time to type these programs in, I'm now, there we go. I'm now saving these as disk files, program files in Classic 99 and posting them on the TI-99 for a Discord server that I'm a part of. So, you know, if I can fix a problem, obviously I'll fix the problem. I like it. It looks good. I'm trying to fix the problems before I save the programs, you know, and it's not always obvious that I'm doing the right thing, but I'm trying to go with the author's best intention. So here I think it's obvious that was a typo in the, whoever transcribed the program into the book manuscript, you know, made a typo and it found its way into the book. So there we go. I'm going to get a couple screenshots now. One of the waves, oop, wrong button. Sorry about that. Oh, I'm on Atari Age sometimes. You've probably seen a few of my posts there. You know, I'm a shameless self-promoter maybe, so every time I make something cool, I try to post it on on Atari Age. I can't help it. Partly just I want to share cool things, you know. It's not everyone will take the time to do the things that I'll take the time to do, and I don't want to be a nuisance because I know not everyone's interested in these little weird projects like this, but for the people that don't want to take the time to do what I'm doing but are still interested in seeing it, I want to share as much as I can. So I'm not sharing everything, but I'm sharing some of the big chunks of work that I've done, like when I did the Teach Yourself Basics series. I did all of those. When I shared the 101 programming tips and tricks for the TI-99 4, I shared that whole series. I'm trying to share them in big chunks so as not to annoy everyone. Oh, I'm glad you're appreciating it. I really am, because you know, some people make comments and some people like you know, look me up and catch me when I'm streaming and whatnot, but you know, I just kind of throw stuff into the world and hope that the haters will not be too bugged by it, and the people that appreciate it will just get something out of it, whether they say hi or not or thank me or not. I don't really care so much. You know, I just want to put some cool things out in the world, and this is a bit of a love letter to this computer system that I love so much and that was so formative for me growing up. And and people were doing cool things. I'd never seen this program before. I didn't have this book. I never typed this program in. It's my very first time typing this program in. I'm the only person who's taking the time to make a video about this. So I'm sort of thinking of it like, for lack of a better word, like a digital archaeology project, like, just doing a little deep dive into the nooks and crannies of my favorite parts of computer history and uncovering some cool things to put out into the world, and maybe inspire a few more people to pick up retro computing as a hobby and keep this old system alive. So yeah, I'm glad you're appreciating it. I really am. I think I have. It's funny because you mentioned Pixel Pedant. She has a fondness for high-quality games, and there are a lot of high-quality games, and people are continuing to make high-quality games for the TI. I didn't play high-quality games, not in BASIC anyway, when I was a kid. I typed in these, weird little art programs and weird little programs that calculate cool things and useful in some simple way. So I have a fondness for kind of the weird, quirky, esoteric type-in programs. So yeah, other people can think about the big games and the really polished games and the pushing the TI to its limits. I love the cool little art programs that people are making, and the people that wrote books making these little programming tips and tricks. Yeah, I'm a graphics person too. I just like cool things on the screen, but I'm such a minimalist because this is my aesthetic. Even when I make a game these days, I'm still kind of veering towards a pixelated, abstract aesthetic. And it's really pervasive for me. Like, when I was in first grade, I don't know how familiar you are with other old computer systems, but when I was in first grade, we had an Apple II in the classroom and had a program called Gertrude's Secrets on it. And it was this logic puzzle game, but it had this little abstract pixelated goose and these little 3D puzzle piece or 2D puzzle pieces. And I was so enamored by that. And then things like the Adventure cartridge for the Atari 2600, which actually was programmed by the same person who helped program Gertrude's Secrets, interestingly enough. And I just veer towards the abstract. The imaginative leap you have to make those old games interesting, or give them some sort of story element is a great imaginative leap. So I still find that, when I look at a sailboat like this, I can't help but imagine the story around. It's like, is this Odysseus on his way home from the Trojan War? Like what's happening here with this sailboat? It's better fuel for the imagination than highly developed games, I think. TI, PC, and then Amiga, and then it has been a PC since Windows and Linux. Yeah. So for me, what did I have? I had a TI-99. When I was in kindergarten, before first grade, we had a TRS-80, a Tandy Radio Shack TRS-80 in the kindergarten classroom. But again, I showed up to kindergarten already somewhat aware of how to program a computer in BASIC. It was a different dialect, of course, but I at least knew what I was doing. And then from first grade through sixth grade, all the way through elementary school, we had Apple IIs in the classroom. And again, computers were so new in the classroom, most of the teachers didn't know what the heck they were for, but they were given these computers because Apple was getting a tax break in California for donating computers to classrooms in California. So, a lot of elementary schools in California had Apple IIs. And again, I was one of the only kids in the class who knew how to use the thing. So I remember in first grade, my first grade teacher used to let me hang out in the back of the classroom and call kids over one by one and teach, spend 15 or 20 minutes or half an hour with them and teach them how to use the computer. Then I would just, call the next one over and teach the next kid how to use the computer. And I was always a teacher at heart. It's no accident I became a teacher and then eventually a philosophy and logic teacher. And, I really have these old computer systems to thank for my entire career as in terms of my interests, even in my teaching interests. The fact that I became a logic teacher, for example, is directly, I think, tied to my programming experience and tied to the fact that I was doing logic games on the Apple II when I was in first grade. And I don't think that's an exaggeration. I think it's really true. So yeah, I'm just trying to connect all the dots and show how influential these early educational experiences can be. And I think it's a shame what we do these days in education. We don't give. Maybe we do to some extent, but it's not the same. We don't give the same quality of early exposure to complex things that we did even when I was a kid. So, we underestimate what kids can do, and I think they're paying the price for it educationally. I really do. One experience of the modern PC. 20 minutes later, it was on all class on one drive. I'm not sure exactly what you mean there. But let's see. So I had Apple II, and then I didn't have a computer for a long time. I continued to use the TI into the late 1980s. But when I got my ham radio license in 1991, I was 13 years old, and there was an old guy. In fact, I remember his name was Warren Dunning, and his call sign was, I think, WA3IYI, I think. And he gave me. It was already an old PC at that point, but he scrounged up an old 286 DOS PC, loaded it up with software for me, put a cool little menu program on it, and I used that for quite a few years. Wrote my early college papers on it. Yeah, and so I was using a 286 all the way until about 1997. And finally, in 1997, I was working at Radio Shack, and I was able to afford a discontinued modern PC, a Windows 95 PC. And that was my first, what I would call a modern computer. One PC, and then we were on screen and keyboard. Oh, I see. Gotcha. Slow as hell, I would imagine so. And then, so I had that computer. Then when I went to grad school, I had some student loan money, so I bought myself a Dell PC circa 2001, I think it was. And then I've had a few PCs since. But you know, I always regretted getting rid of my original TI and the programs I had. In fact, there's a program my dad wrote for me. It was called Shooting Star, and I don't remember all the details of it. What I do remember is that it was basically would spawn an asterisk at a random screen edge, and it would move at a random basically a random direction and random velocity. It was clearly using sine and cosine functions to determine the angle that the asterisk would move at. And through some means, I don't exactly remember. I don't know if I was a ship in the middle. I don't know if you were shooting from the bottom. I don't really remember, but you would basically shoot another asterisk at this asterisk, and it was basically an asterisk collision program from there, written not in extended basic, no sprites, just regular basic. But it was cute, and I used to love that program, and I had it on cassette, and I cannot find the cassette to save my life. I've looked everywhere. I just think it's been lost. I suspect I probably accidentally gave it away when I donated all of my old TI stuff when I thought I didn't need it anymore, with a complete and total lack of foresight. So that's unfortunate if that's the case. But what do you do, right? So in fact, one of the programs I'm working on, very, very casually, I may actually finish it one of these days, is taking a back seat. But I've tried to recreate that program, but a slightly more souped up, polished version of it than the version my dad created, as a little homage to my dad and to the TI. So, you know, one of these days I'll finish that up. It's like 80% done. I've got it mostly working. I just want to polish it up a bit more, using extended basic as opposed to regular basic. But it's in the spirit of the original program that my dad wrote for me when I was a little kid. So my dad died a couple years ago, so in fact, I was hoping to finish it. It's too bad he died before I finished it. But now that he's not with us anymore, I decided it would be fun to finish that program and put it out there as a little homage to my dad, because really I have my dad to thank for my interest in this stuff. My mom thought computers were a waste of time and money when I was a little kid, and so my dad's the one who insisted we get a TI back when I was a little kid. Oh, we also, while we're talking about computers, for a brief period of time we had an Epson QX10. And I remember it had CP/M as the operating system, not DOS. It was CP/M. And I remember playing the original text adventure game, Colossal Cave Adventure, on that computer. And we didn't have it very long, though. I don't know what happened to it. My dad must have got rid of it. But we continued to hold on to the TI for a long time. So yeah, that's the quick 1, 2, 3 of my computer history. Well, I am going to call it an afternoon. I've got a couple other things I want to work on, and I thought about doing another program, but I think I'm gonna try to make these videos as modular as possible, just one program at a time. So I'm gonna wrap this stream up in just a minute. But I'm glad you decided to tune in. I really am, because it's fun, and I like that the fact that I'm making these TI videos is sparking some interest, in my YouTube channel, selfishly, but also just generally in TI computer history and some of the cool things that were out there that I'm uncovering and trying to put out in the world again and letting out for a little bit of fresh air, so to speak. I love text adventures too. Yeah, exactly. I never was very good at them. I didn't get very far in Colossal Cave Adventure, and I suspect it's because it does some things I just don't understand. It's not even internally consistent in some places. The map isn't internally consistent, for example. So maybe I'll do a live stream where I play Colossal Cave Adventure, and I might have to use a walkthrough in order to complete it. I'm not going to take the time to solve all the puzzles myself. I have other things I want to do, but it would be fun to do a live stream of Colossal Cave Adventure. That would be cool. I think there are playable versions you can access in the browser and whatnot. So I'll just find one of those and do that. I remember, you know what? I vividly remember, because I was pretty little. I mean, quite little. My parents weren't divorced. My parents got divorced when I was 5, and so I remember this from before I was 5 years old. I remember the bird in the cage in Colossal Cave Adventure. That's what I remember. One of the things I remember. Of course, the go north, go south, go east, go west kind of stuff. But I remember the bird in the cage. I remember thinking that was really, really amusing and cool when I was a tiny little kid, before kindergarten, again. Somewhere around 1982 or 1983, I think, give or take. Maybe 1984. I don't remember, but yeah, I remember that. That was a lot of fun. Maybe I'll do that. It'd be a lot. I'll put that on the docket, so to speak, of things I want to do a live stream of. I've got a long list of streams and videos I want to make for the TI. But again, I'm never going to make the polished videos that someone like Pixel Pedant is going to make. She makes more robust videos than I have patience to do the editing for. I'd rather just crank out cool type-in programs like this. Yeah, we got a ship now. Exactly. We accomplished something. And before I forget, I want to save the program. So let's do that. So we're going to I'm saving these to disk 2. And this is called For Sale, I believe. Yep, so we're just going to call it For Sale. Yeah, exactly. On our way to our next adventure. Like an epic TI adventure here. You know, like we're Odysseus on his way home from Troy. For Sale. There we go. And let's make sure that worked. So new. If it didn't work, too late. Old disk 2 for sale. Take a second to load, of course. Looks like it's working okay. Yeah, there we go. It worked. Perfect. So yeah, I'm going to try to preserve as many of these. Do I know why it is old? I don't know. I suspect it's just the obvious. Like, you want to load an old program, so you type old. Is there some historical reason that command became old? Oh, it's not new, it's old. Yeah, exactly, of course. I just assumed it was literally like an old program. I want to load an old program, so. You know, such a literalist, I guess. That's one thing I like about BASIC. It's a good program language for literalists. You know, the commands do exactly what they say they're going to do. And if I were teaching someone programming now, I would still recommend they learn a little bit of BASIC before they go learn some modern stuff. It's just easier to make cool stuff to happen on the screen. I was so frustrated. You know, that's one thing that's held me back in terms of programming. You know, in TI Basic, it was so easy just to make something cool happen on the screen. And then programming languages got harder. With structured programming, you just have to understand a little more in order to make something happen. And it just lost me. I didn't keep up with it. And so when I went back into learning modern programming, I had to wrap my head around some new concepts I didn't have to think about. Like when I was writing that game I showed you in Pico 8, you know, the fact that, okay, what do I have to do? There's this initialization function that runs once, and then there's the update function that looks for user inputs and changes the variables, whatever it does, the game logic, and then there's the display thing that runs 30 times a second. And so I had to wrap my head around the fact that anything I wrote was running 30 times a second. It wasn't just happening once. And so that was quite a Gestalt shift. And, you know, it sounds obvious now, and it sounds obvious to anyone who understands modern programming and modern game development. But for me, having grown up in the early 1980s writing BASIC programs, I really didn't get it at first. I had to kind of do some very, very simple little programming projects to understand what was happening. And then I was like, okay, then the light bulb went on, and I was able to understand what was happening and make some progress. But as you can see from that game I shared, I still veer towards the retro. and probably always will the older older I get a little more stuck in our ways as we get older. But I'm glad you're able to tune in. Thank you very, very much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. And like I said, check out the rest of my YouTube channel on, yeah, I will. I'm going to keep working on it. I'm not giving up. I've got a long list of topics I want to make videos on, and things I want to at least preserve, if not share, in the TI world. So I'll be a fixture in the TI world for some time to come, I dare say. Partly because I'm somewhat new to it. I've been so busy with the rest of life and career, I haven't had luxury to work on these projects, and now I have a little bit of luxury to work on these projects. So I'm really throwing myself into it. I'm just glad it's being well received, because I was really, in a way, kind of worried that there was no audience, and kind of worried that I was just literally just wasting time sharing stuff that no one's interested in. But people are coming out of the woodwork now, and I'm finding that there's a much bigger audience out there than I anticipated. So I'm really glad that I'm glad you thought to tune in and say hi, and I'm glad we were able to chit chat in the chat. And I really mean it. If I'm streaming live on Twitch doing these programming videos, I'm not trying to rush, so I really want to take the time to chit chat while I'm doing it. I think it's part of the fun of being on Twitch in the first place, right? So for most people, though, I mean, you're watching live on Twitch, but most people are going to be watching after the fact on YouTube. So if you're watching on YouTube after the fact, check out the rest of my YouTube channel. You can find TI-99 4A content, some retro programming, retro gaming, some World of Warcraft live streaming, and like I said previously, miscellaneous educational videos on a wide variety of topics of interest to me, both professionally and personally. And if you happen to catch me live on Twitch, like old one man here is, excuse me, not old, odd one man. So I had to zoom in my Twitch, Twitch stream, Streamlabs screen is somewhat far away. I had to like lean in to get your screen name correctly. So if you happen to catch me streaming live like Odd One Man is doing now, say hi in the chat and feel free to participate, and we can chat about TI stuff or other stuff while I'm streaming. And if you're catching me after the fact on YouTube, check out my Twitch channel when you get a chance, and catch me streaming live from time to time, and all the above. But I appreciate likes and follows and subscriptions, all of which help me out greatly in these challenging financial times. So thank you very much in advance for all of that. And oh yeah, you checked out my list of type-in programs. There's 2,600 type-in programs on that list, and I estimate by the time I'm done compiling that, I'll have about 10,000 programs on that list. Obviously, I can't make videos on all of those, but I'm going to be doing random videos on. Right now, I'm just doing the low-hanging fruit because I don't have a lot of time to devote to making videos. So I'm doing the short programs that I can do in 20 minutes or half an hour and make an interesting video on. But there are some longer type-in programs that are more like 2 or 3 or 4 hour type-in programs, and maybe I'll get around to making videos of those as well. But I think the mere act of aggregating all of these type-in programs into one space with links to all of them that are likely to persist for the foreseeable future, I think that's going to do a real service to the TI community in the long run going forward. And you know, I'm finding that I'm one of the younger people in the TI community. A lot of people, you know, who were messing around with the TI in the early 80s were older than I am, right? They were in their 20s or 30s or 40s in the early 1980s, and they're all old. It's people that are my age and maybe younger who are going to be the future of the TI community. So I have to remind myself, I'm late to the party, so to speak, because I'm a little younger and I didn't see a lot of what other people were doing with the TI, but it's people like me that are willing to devote time to it that I think are going to help keep the TI alive going forward. There's a chat on Saturdays. I've seen that. The problem is it's hard for me to do that on Saturdays. I often have other commitments on Saturdays. I've seen it's been advertised in the Discord server that I'm a member of, and I keep every time I see it, I go, oh man, yeah, I want to do that, and then I miss it because I was busy with other things. So I think what I'll do, I think I'll put it on the calendar for myself, so I actually remember, because I right now I just keep remembering it after the fact. I would appreciate, frankly, a little more reminder about it, like, you know, hey, reminder, this Saturday we're meeting. Hey, don't forget this Saturday we're meeting, so I remember it. But you know, I'm an adult, so I can actually write it down if I want to do it, and I do want to participate, and I want to get to know people a little better. And I'm kind of just a little self-conscious about it. I was just worried that maybe I'd be annoying, like, you know, who's this dork making videos on sailboats? You know, when other people are doing genuinely cool things on the TI that are new and innovative, and here come I with my old sailboat program to share. But I'm the kind of guy that's going to, take the time to make, hundreds of videos that other people aren't going to take the time to make. So I guess everyone's good at some things, and, other people are good at other things. So I'm just going to do what I find interesting and hope that other people find it interesting. I just don't want to be a thorn in anyone's side and annoy anyone if I overshare the things that other people aren't necessarily interested in. But I do think it's been nice talking to you. It's been a reminder that people are actually enjoying what I'm doing and benefiting from it, even if it's not obvious that that's true. So thank you for it's a little wind. It's a wind in my sail, so to speak, to use the sailboat metaphor. Oh, good. I'm glad. Yeah, I'm a nice person at very least. I'm happy to talk about the TI. I just don't know what I don't know, and there's been a lot of innovation in the TI world. People creating new hardware or doing innovative modifications on old hardware, things like that. I'm more of a software and graphics guy and less of a hardware guy. So some of the things other people geek out about, I really don't have enough interest to keep up on. And but I do, like geeking out about old, quirky old programs and stuff. So I guess we all have our interests and our niche. So I will join, absolutely. This Saturday, I know I can't this Saturday. We've got some friends coming over to decorate some Christmas cookies. That's our plan on Saturday, so I'll be busy decorating cookies. Yeah, sometime in the next Saturday or 2 or 3 or 4, I will put it on the calendar and I will join it, and it will be a lot of fun. So yeah, I'll plan to tune in. I just need to remember what time it is. I have the time written down. I see the notifications. I just keep forgetting it. So I will do that. So thanks for the reminder about that. And I'll start to share things on Atari Age as well. But I have the same worry. I don't want to overshare on Atari Age and people go, oh my God, all this guy does is post his videos. But there are people that like watching the videos and want to see the cool things. And, how do they know about it if I don't tell them about it? So maybe I'll give myself a little more permission to share things on Atari Age. And I guess for people that aren't interested, they can just ignore it, right? You can ignore, I ignore their things, they ignore my things if we're not interested. I will share more, yeah. Maybe not every video, but I'll do them in batches, I think, because I think, rather than a post for every video, every handful of videos, I'll say, here's my latest videos, everyone, check them out. Once a week or something. That's a good idea. Once a week. I'll get in the habit of sharing them once a week. Good idea. Everyone can deal with me once a week, right? Well, I'm going to wrap it up and get a little bite to eat and work on some other projects, but it was very nice talking with you, and thank you for tuning in. I will, like I said, don't be a stranger. If you catch me live on Twitch again, say hi, and check out all my other videos on YouTube, and we'll cross paths again soon. I'm sure. Those of us that are interested in the TI, there are a lot of people that had the TI. There aren't too many people out there that are interested in the TI in this day and age. Some dozens or hundreds of people, maybe thousands of people who are interested in the TI. So it's a relatively small world, so I'm sure we'll cross paths again. But nice to meet you, and thank you again for tuning in. I'm going to end the stream here momentarily, but thanks for tuning in, and thanks for everyone watching this live or after the fact. See, a couple people were tuning in live. Thanks for watching if you're still watching, and thanks for checking out all the rest of my videos on YouTube after the fact. Hope everyone has a good day, and most importantly, a good Christmas coming up, and I'll be back soon with another TI-99 for a type-in program video. Have a good day in the meantime, everyone. Have a good day, Odd One Man. Thanks for tuning in. Catch you next time.